What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Sports. It's more so like a pop-up episode, probably like I'll think of it as episode 11.5 in a sense, because all I'm here to talk about the first round of the NFL draft, y'all. And before I get into that, first of all, Noah's a W Tech because he was working all morning to get everything situated for us. And I know he actually he put out a poll too saying that I should asking if I should pay him. And I think what was the results was like 71% said yes. So some folks said no. I ain't gonna lie, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna me and Noah are gonna discuss that privately what we should do for him for sure. So W Tech guy though for sure. He definitely needs his props for sure. So
Thanks, man.
and for waking up this morning. It is a Friday morning, y'all. This is a little bit different than usual, like I said, because I really just want to talk about that first round. And that first round, y'all, of the NFL draft was not what anybody expected by any means, and it was chaotic as hell. I mean, looking back at my mock draft, like I maybe got like maybe one or two players correct, maybe three, I think it was, and there was a lot of things that went on in this draft. So the NFL draft, it was held in Green Bay this year, y'all. By the way, the population in Green Bay is just a little over 107,000 people. But the people that were in attendance, it was well over 125,000. So that was completely incredible for sure. It was a great turnout. Every year, every single year when Roger Goodell comes out for that first time, you hear a rain of boos coming his way. So it's always fun to see that too. And he embraces it himself that the fans will always boo him every time he comes out on the stage or anything of that nature. So in addition to Roger Goodell, Lil Wayne came out as well. So there's a tradition in Green Bay for the Packers every like training camp before the regular season starts. They have like this traditional like bicycle ride and stuff like that they have with the kids and like just other fans and stuff like that. So Lil Wayne did that as well himself, and I think Roger Goodell did it as well with his kids. And then some Packer legends as well came out and showed their support and stuff for this upcoming draft. So. But before we get into this first round, y'all, let's discuss the elephant of the room, which is Shedeur Sanders, which, as we all know, two things happened. One, Shedeur Sanders got snubbed in this first round of the NFL draft. And then two, he wasn't even the second quarterback taken in this draft. And like I said, before I want to get into the whole analysis of this draft, I just want to speak more on Shedeur Sanders. And I think he went on the record and said that it does not matter where he gets picked. I mean, like he mentioned folks like Tom Brady getting picked in the sixth round, so it doesn't really matter to him. But in the same sense, like, it is a loss on his end because I'm sure he gets paid. He gets a lot of money regardless. I mean, Deion Sanders is his father, of course, and his NIL deals he had in college, like he was one of the highest paid players in NIL. But in terms of Shedeur Sanders, I'm not too sure why he slipped out that first round. Actually, I can't have it. I have an idea for sure. I think what it was is, and I was at work yesterday, y'all, while I was watching this draft, and I'm like, I seen the opportunities where Shedeur could get picked, and I was talking to some customers, and they said the same thing that a lot of analysts were saying, and a lot of people, criticizing Shedeur Sanders. The main thing about Shedeur everyone was talking about was they think he's arrogant and cocky. And I'm sitting back here and I'm thinking, no, you got it all wrong, y'all. First of all, hold on, let's pump the brakes real quick. We have it all wrong here in terms of Shedeur. First of all, he is the product of his father. He is, Deion Sanders is his father, and he is a Hall of Famer. First of all, that should already give you the green light of, hey, I can have that type of attitude, and it's not a cocky and arrogant attitude for him. I think it's more so confidence, and that's what you look for in a quarterback. That's an intangible that a lot of quarterbacks should have, and he can bring that spark to a locker room. So just seeing him not getting picked up in this first round, it doesn't speak to his level of play. I think he's going to be a tremendous player wherever he goes in this upcoming draft for sure. For day two, like I said, I think I can see him going pretty early today, but seeing him not, there's nothing like if that's being the main reason why Shedeur Sanders did not get picked up. A lot of teams are going to definitely regret that because, I mean, let's look at it. Like, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of the other things wrong with Shedeur is he holds the ball too long. Like, I mean, hell, I mean, let's look back at some of the quarterbacks. Josh Allen was picked in the seventh pick in the 2017 or 2018 draft by the Buffalo Bills. His main issue was his completion percentage was hot garbage coming out of Wyoming. So we're looking at this, and like I said, Rome isn't built in a day. He can work on something like that, his decision making and holding the ball for too long. But overall, he has the intangibles of just that confidence, and he can bring a spark to any NFL franchise for sure. Of Shedeur Sanders, that is. And just like I said, y'all, overall, I find it a little upsetting that he didn't get picked in this first round. There's a lot of opportunities missed for some of these teams. I thought this was going to be like another Lamar Jackson situation where someone swoops in late in the last pick and picks him up. But, this is just adding more fuel to the fire for Shedeur for sure. And he's going to make the other 31 teams regret it who picks him up for sure. So, but enough about Shedeur. Let's get into this first round, y'all. Let's get into it right now. So, as expected, picks 1 through 3 were, the expected players that we all thought were going to get picked, being Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter. The Tennessee Titans, they got their franchise guy in Cam Ward. Like I said, the man has a nasty arm for sure, and he just has a lot of scrambling. He's more athletic than Shedeur. That's the one thing I can say about Cam Ward that kind of separates him from the pack. Another thing, too, about this draft, y'all, I think those 3 guys that I mentioned, Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, and Travis Hunter, I believe they are, and this is not to knock any of the other players in this draft, because they could definitely be that too. But looking at it now, where we're at now, those are probably the 3 only generational players I see in this draft. Like I said, looking at Cam Ward, like I said, Tennessee Titans, they picked their guy, they got their guy. Now, what was unexpected now, y'all, the Cleveland Browns had the number 2 pick. Travis Hunter was there for them. They could have gone Shedeur, Abdul Carter. They had 3 guys right there they could have picked. But what was unexpected was the Jags sent a haul. The Jacksonville Jaguars sent a haul for the number 2 overall pick. So the Cleveland Browns sent the number 2 pick, a 4th round pick, and a 6th round pick to Jacksonville for a number 5 pick, a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick, and then a 2026 first round pick. So, and I believe the GM for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's only 34 years old. So he is a really young, sprawly guy himself. And I think basically what he said is F them picks. There's a generational player that's in this draft. I need to go and grab him. And they get the man himself. They get the man himself in Travis Hunter. And let's just kind of look real quick for Travis Hunter. He's in the AFC South, which I believe is probably one of the weakest divisions in the NFL for sure. Looking back at it, what is it? You have the Colts, you have the Titans, the Jags, and then you also have who else is in there? Oh, and the Texans as well, y'all. So you have those teams. So, and it looks like the Jags even mentioned, and they said that they will be, having Travis Hunter primarily play wide receiver, but he's definitely going to be in the defensive meeting rooms for sure. So looking at Travis Hunter, like I said, he'll be playing up against Michael Pittman, Nico Collins, and then like Calvin Ridley, and stuff like that. And also, to dive back onto the Tennessee Titans, they also got Tyler Lockett as well. So Cam Ward got an old reliable over there as well. Definitely needs some. I think he needs some more weapons offensively over there in Tennessee, because Calvin Ridley and I don't think Tyler Lockett are really going to cut it. But no disrespect to any of them at all. But again, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got their guy in Travis Hunter. Like I said, a generational guy. We have not seen a player like Travis Hunter. I mean, me and Noah, most of us weren't even alive for the last time we seen a 2-way player like this. And like I said, it was Deion Sanders. He's the only player in the NFL to have 8+ starts, both on the offensive side and defensive side. I can see Travis Hunter doing something of that caliber. And like I said, we might have our Deion here, y'all. We might have our Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter. Now, he is a little bit smaller. He will probably need to build some muscle this offseason, but I really believe in Travis Hunter. So, and then with the 3rd pick, the New York Giants, I think, which made a lot of sense. Like I said, Abdul Carter is another generational talent guy right here. And like I said, probably the best defensive player in this draft. I completely love this pick that they got with Abdul Carter. I like that they didn't want to reach for, not that it's a reach, but I'm glad that they went with the best player available in Abdul Carter. And like I said, very good pick for them. Looking at the Pats, I feel like we all expected this. I didn't see Abdul Carter falling to them, unfortunately. So they went with the best available player themselves, the best tackle in this draft, in Will Campbell. Now, watching him walk up on that stage, his arms did look little. I ain't gonna lie. Like the thing that was knacking him was how short his arms were, and they looked short in that suit he was wearing last night for sure. So, but like I said, the Patriots got their guy to protect Drake May, and which is an amazing pick for them, I believe. So with the trade, the Browns had the 5th pick now. Now with the 5th pick, the Browns were even actually looking to shop that 5th pick and even move back even further to get even more draft capital. So, and if they would have done that, I mean, they already got a steal, a big steal in a haul. I don't think the Jags gave up too much in terms to get Travis Hunter. I think it's going to pay off for them, but I know the Browns for sure that trade paid off for them. They actually winded up with the top rated nose tackle, who I think actually is another player that could be a generational player in this league, in Mason Graham, which, like I said, I was not expecting. I honestly, I thought it was flip flop basically. I thought the Jags were going to go Mason Graham and the Browns were going to go Travis Hunter, but they flip-flopped. I really like Mason Graham here. He's going to clog up that middle for sure. And, take off any type of pressure off Myles Garrett, because Myles Garrett is on that edge. And like I said, that Browns defense is definitely cooking something up on that D-line. Now, it's not a surprise, and I kept thinking that they weren't going to do it. I always thought they were going to go a different direction, but the Raiders pulled the trigger on Ashton Jeanty, y'all. The best running back in this class. They got their guy in Ashton Jeanty. And now thinking about it, I really do like this pick because, thinking about what the Raiders have done in the offseason, they definitely boosted their offensive line. They got some good pickups, with Geno Smith and everyone else as well. So the Raiders, they pulled the trigger, and so they got Ashton Jeanty. Like I said, at that 6th pick, I think it was the highest running back. And by the way, he's actually the second highest paid running back already. I think it's $31 million guaranteed for him. I think Saquon, it levels out because he was one of the highest drafted running backs since Jahmyr Gibbs last year at 12, and I think Bijan Robinson was 8 the year prior. So that's probably the highest drafted since Saquon for sure. And I think Ashton Jeanty is going to make an immediate impact on this team. I think he's an intergenerational guy too. They had a comparison up yesterday for him and Emmitt Smith, and they look the same, y'all. And that's kind of scary. As a Broncos fan, it's definitely scary to see the Raiders actually, improving and actually making very smart moves moving forward. So they definitely changed the culture up over there in Las Vegas. So now the Jets, they could have gone in any direction. I personally thought they would go with Tyler Warren to get a new weapon for Justin Fields, but no, I actually am kind of glad they got a replacement because they lost Morgan Moses in the offseason. And so they got Armand Membu. Like I said, I really like his stature and him as a player. He's a big tackle himself, and to protect Justin Fields' blind side as well. So I really like that the Jets, they didn't mess up this pick. They didn't reach for nobody. I think this was a perfect landing spot for Armand Membu. And like I said, I really like this Jets pick. Now, another one of my surprise picks, because I think everyone and their grandmothers really honestly thought the Panthers were going to go with Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. But no, the Panthers flipped the switch on everyone and went with Tetairoa McMillan, the top-rated wide receiver in this year's draft, I believe. And so, like I said, I kind of knew they needed to go with a receiver. I didn't expect him to spend it on Tetairoa McMillan, y'all. I like T-Mac a lot. He has the physicality. He has the physicality to him, y'all. He's, like I said, he can pluck jump balls in the air as well. And I think this is a really solid pick, and this is gonna help Bryce Young. Bryce Young's already confident, y'all. He ended the season with a lot of confidence, and now with getting T-Mac, now they definitely just really just brought a lot of like definitely a playmaker for sure over in Carolina. So now with the 9th pick, y'all, he's right there for them, y'all. Shedeur was right there in the laps of the New Orleans Saints, and what do? They go in a completely different direction. What is it? I think I was talking to someone. I think one of the folks at work. He was a Saints fan. He's like, bro. He's like, the 2 of the last 3 years we got an offensive lineman, and I'm like, I mean, damn, that sucks. So they went in a completely different direction. The Saints went and got Kelvin Banks Jr., the tackle from Texas. Now, it's not a bad pick. I don't think it's a bad pick because Ryan Ramczyk, he actually just retired this offseason too. So they needed to get another offensive tackle, someone to replace him for sure. So, I don't know. They could have gone with Shedeur here. And like I said, with the whole Derek Carr situation going on over there in New Orleans, like, who knows if he's going to be healthy enough to play? Do they trust Spencer Rattler? Do they trust Jake Heiner? Do they trust these guys? I don't know. We'll talk more about what the Saints can do later on in the show. Now, with the 10th pick, Chicago, they missed out on Ashton Jeanty. I truly thought Chicago was going to make more of an effort to get Ashton Jeanty, but hold on, let me drink some water.
Here, scroll down the production. You scroll with it.
Okay. Oh wait,
Scroll 2 fingers.
I gotta flip it.
Oh, put it away.
Ah.
There. And then just scroll. Is it working?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. All right. Sorry, y'all. But like I said, Chicago missed out on Ashton Jeanty. I truly thought they would put more of an effort into nabbing him. But another big surprise. Even after extending Cole Kmet, y'all, they go with Colston Loveland. And he's the first tight end off the board. Everyone had Tyler Warren being the first tight end off the board. Now, I think Chicago's seen something in this guy. They'd seen something in him that a lot of their teams probably didn't see. He is bigger than Tyler Warren, and he's definitely he has the frame to get up there and get a really nice to get the pluck. Like I said, he's a jump ball type of tight end too. You have him in the red zone. He can definitely help out Caleb Williams. So they got themselves a weapon for Caleb Williams. I thought they also would probably go offensive lineman, but I'm glad they probably didn't want to reach because they felt maybe Colston Loveland was the best player available to them. So shout out to the Bears for, a lot of people are questioning it. They could have gotten Tyler Warren, but I think they did something right here, I think. Let's see. Oh, I gotta scroll down. I'm struggling here, y'all. I ain't gonna lie.
Know how to use Magic Mouse? You just got...
Oh, here we go. Boom.
Yeah, it's like you're scrolling on an iPad.
All right, y'all. Now with the 11th pick, the Niners, they stuck with the defense. Now, I thought they would go Shamar Stewart, but I guess they seen a lot, and they seen a lot of upside and potential in this physical pass rusher and Mykel Williams, that is. And the 49ers, like I said, they go defense. They're in rebuild mode. Mykel Williams, a lot of upside for this guy. And like I said, he's a physical pass rusher, and he has a lot of potential. So I really like this pick for the Niners. So good job to the Niners. Now, as we look at here to the Cowboys. Oh, Cowboys. How do they do it? Okay, I understand this pick, y'all, because Zach Martin retired this offseason as well, so they needed to go with another swing guard for Dak Prescott. They needed, for the running game and stuff like that. But damn, y'all, Matthew Golden was right there for them. But obviously, I think they were really wanting Teteroa McMillan himself. But let's look at it. Let's just look at this real quick, y'all. I like Tyler Booker. Like I said, I think he is a first round guard for sure. But I think this is kind of a reach. But then again, I do understand because I think in terms of the guards and the offensive line, this is probably one of the weaker classes. So I think they had to pull the trigger because he wasn't going to be available in day 2 at all, or I don't think there were any other favorable linemen that they like probably going into day 2. So just seeing that, I don't know. I think the Cowboys kind of sold on this pick, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you, but we'll see how that pans out for them. I mean, they do pretty well with their offensive linemen. You know, they have like Tyrone Smith. You know, they got some dogs over there. Now let's look at the Dolphins. Now again, I'm sure the Dolphins, like same thing with the Cowboys. I don't think they wanted to reach for a tackle or guard here because Armand Membu already got picked up. But looking at it, I'm sure the Dolphins did not want to reach for a tackle or guard, so they went with Kenneth Grant, who will be an immediate impact player for sure for that defensive line and help alleviate that pressure off of Jalen Phillips, who honestly was is a rising up and coming rusher for sure, and also Bradley Chubb. So I think that was a really good pick for the Dolphins. Kenneth Grant, like I said, is him and what was it, Mason Graham? They were tearing offensive lines and just stuffing the run and stuff like that. So I really like this pick for them. The Colts got their prototypical Dallas Clark 2.0, y'all. Now this is amazing. And Tyler Warren, this Swiss Army knife on offense is for sure going to be a great fit for the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, this is one of my big surprises because he kind of slipped a little bit, but I think a lot of people actually expected him to go with Tyler Warren. But just looking back at it, like I said, this is going to really help Anthony Richardson out, and hopefully, he's working in the offseason with his accuracy issues and just, he's a pure runner for sure. I really like Anthony Richardson as a pure runner. He's a big dude himself, but getting Tyler Warren, like I said, a Swiss Army knife, line him up at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back, he could be a mismatch nightmare for sure. So one of my biggest surprises this year, y'all, was at 15 for the Atlanta Falcons, a team for the past few seasons that struggled to generate sacks. They can't get to the quarterback to save their lives. They haven't been able to. But they drafted Jalen Walker, which so many actually didn't even expect him to be there at 15. I'm sure the Atlanta Falcons didn't think he would be there at 15. Like I said, I think a lot of people projected him to even go in the top 10, but they were able to get him, and then on top of that, they were able to trade back into the draft for the 26th pick with the Los Angeles Rams, and the 101 pick to the Falcons in exchange for a 2nd round pick and a 7th round pick. And then, like I said, this might be a little bit too much. And they trade away their next year's 1st round pick as well. They also went on they really wanted to emphasize their D-line issues. Like, they wanted to make sure they got all the holes plugged for their defensive line issues. And they also got James Pierce Jr. as well. And like I said, these two guys are just some freak athletes for sure. Jalen Walker, like I said, he is a bit smaller than most linebackers for sure. And he could play off-ball as well, off-ball linebacker. He can line up at the line as well. James Pierce, he's above average height in terms of a defensive end. He's like 6'4", so he's a tall dude, speedy. A lot of upside, a lot of potential with these two coming off of both. They could put them on both sides and wreak havoc in the NFC South for sure. Which is, like I said, very amazing pick for the Atlanta Falcons. And I really like that they're really addressing this idea of the D-line. Because I think a couple years ago, they did the same thing, but on the opposite side of offensive line. They drafted 2 offensive linemen in the 1st round. And I think just seeing them draft 2 defensive linemen, it goes to show that Raheem Morris is not playing any games, and he wants to get that. He needs to generate sacks, that team. Y'all, this is so ass. So ass. So, y'all, the next team is the Arizona Cardinals at the 16th pick. Now, this is a player I neglected in my mock draft. I didn't have Walter Nolan getting picked in the 1st round, selected in the 1st round, just because how deep I thought the skill set the players are. But they got, like I said, they got probably one of the best nose tackles in college football in Walter Nolan over there in Arizona. I think he's going to be, like I said, an immediate impact player for them. He's going to definitely generate a lot up that middle and a lot of disruption up the middle. So now with the Bengals, y'all, they get much needed help on the defensive side of the ball by selecting probably like I said, this is one of my favorite defensive edge guys in Shamar Stewart. I didn't think he would fall this far for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I really like this pick for them. It's a very solid pick. Not like I think this is a very this will help them out a lot on the defensive side, opposite of Trey Hendrickson or whatever's going to happen with Trey Hendrickson. You know, they've been having this dilemma with his contract talks and stuff like that. So I really like this pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then for the Seattle Seahawks, as expected, I felt like they looked to solidify their offensive line and get the best 5 positional lineman in Greg Zabel, who again can play all 5 positions on the line. But I think they probably will stick him at center this year. But you can put him in both guards, both tackles. Like I said, this is probably the best FCS lineman out of this year's draft as well. Obviously, it shows here. Being a first round top 20 pick right here for Greg Zabel. He's going to be an immediate day one starter for the Seattle Seahawks. So I really like this pick for them. Now here's my surprise pick here again, y'all. Jahad Campbell was on the board still, and I think they needed to. I thought they were going to get a replacement for Levante David for the Bucks, but they turned to the wide receiver room and select the Buckeyes, the Ohio State national champion wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. And let's just take a look real quick, y'all. The 2021 Ohio State wideout room had 5 first rounders in it. That's insane. That's out of this world insane. They know how to produce wide receivers over there at Ohio State. You know, they're up there with LSU as wide receiver U. Who is it? Ohio State, LSU. I don't know. They both can go hand in hand, y'all, for sure. But I think it makes sense though. I can see why they went this route because with the injury to Chris Godwin, who knows if Chris Godwin's gonna be the same anymore. I don't, he might slow down a little bit, but with Emeka Egbuka, yeah, now they got the right guy right there, and pairing him up with Mike Evans as well. Baker Mayfield throwing them the ball. He's very accurate as well. Knows how to put the ball in the right places with good anticipation as well. So great pick for the Bucks. Now, y'all, my Denver Broncos. I was highly sold on Amarion Hampton, and I truly thought we'll go offense here in this first round of the draft. But George Payton and Sean Payton, they both pulled the rug from under us, honestly. And Jahdae Barron, the most versatile, and I talked about this, y'all. I had him going in the top 15. I had him going 14 to the Indianapolis Colts because I really liked him I think he's the best, probably the best DB in this class. I'm being honest here. Like, yes, I had Will Johnson first on my board, but I think in terms of versatility, Jahdae Barron checks all the marks there. So, what was it? Like I said, he's the most versatile defensive back. He's the Jim Thorpe Award winner who can play outside, inside, and is much needed help in terms of depth for this Denver Broncos team because going back to last year against the Cleveland Browns, dealing with we had some injuries, with Riley Moss and folks of that nature. We struggled in that secondary when Jameis Winston carved us up. So getting Jahdae Barron, pairing him up with PS2, and also having Brandon Jones there, Talanoa Hufanga. That secondary is looking scary over there in Denver. I could see a no-fly zone 2.0. I really like this pick because I don't think Denver even expected him to be at 20, and he fell right in their laps. And Vance Joseph is going to utilize him to the best of his ability. And like I said, I'm just very excited for this secondary out in Denver, y'all. So y'all better watch out for sure. Look, again, y'all, Shedeur has obviously slid, as we can see. He slid, and this is where I think the only real shot of him getting drafted would be here now with the 21st pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were in good position right here. They could have gone either him, or if they really like Jackson Dart, they could have gone with Jackson Dart. They went in a completely different direction. Again, another team going in a completely different direction who I think is a quarterback-needy team that's waiting on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers secretly told Pittsburgh, like, hey, I'm coming, just don't draft any of these guys. But I don't know. But they select Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Now, no disrespect to Derek Harmon. He is a stud. Again, this is probably my least favorite pick of this year's draft so far. And like I said, we're only in day one. So, and like I said, no disrespect at all to him. He will have a tremendous mentor in Cam Hayward. And I think he's going to that's really going to elevate that Steelers defensive line that's already Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward. You got Derek Harmon and TJ Watt. Like, man, like that D line is solid over there for the Steelers. They'll probably be up there in the top of the league in terms of sacks this year. But again, y'all, let's look at the, like, with all due respect, the Steelers, the only quarterback they have on their roster right now is Mason Rudolph. That is their starting quarterback right now. Are you kidding me? Like, no, there's no possible way that they actually think this is the way to go. Again, they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers, and he's so non-committal. So what the hell? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing here. I do, like I said, I like the Derek Harmon pick, but I don't know. I didn't see it going the way I thought it would go. Now the LA Chargers, y'all. And again, the AFC West is getting so scary. My Denver Broncos, luckily, they've been, boosting their defense because the AFC West is going crazy right now in terms of offense. The LA Chargers, like I said, I was sold they would go with a tight end, but with both probably, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland off the board, I didn't see a point of them reaching for anyone outside of those two guys because I truly think those two guys are probably the only graded number one round one tight ends. So, but the thing is, Will Johnson was there for them and Matthew Golden. So I'm like, okay, they could probably get one of those reunite Will Johnson with Jim Harbaugh or get Matthew Golden, that very speedy wide receiver out there in Texas. But they didn't go that direction either. But I think they go with the Harbaugh specialty pick here, I think. And they pick what I believe is the second best running back in this year's draft, and Amarion Hampton, pairing him up with Najee Harris, and I think they still got J.K. Dobbins, I believe, too. They was most certainly open up the passing game for Justin Herbert and company as well. You got you got the hammers in Amarion Hampton and Najee Harris, and you got the nail in J.K. Dobbins, who can spread out the defense and put them out wide and stuff like that. So this is amazing. Like I said, this is a really good pick for the LA Chargers. Like I said, I didn't expect them to go that route, but like I said, they were highly on Amarion Hampton. I was high on him as well. Like I said, this is a really good pick for them. And yeah, just altogether a great pick for the LA Chargers. Now the Packers at 23, they have some other things to address themselves. I thought they were going to go corner here. Will Johnson again, like I said, one of the best corners in this draft. He's dealing with a lingering knee injury, I believe it is. So that's probably why he's sliding, y'all. That's probably why he's sliding. A lot of teams are a little scared to even pick him up. But for the first time since 2002, and this was honestly an exciting announcement too. I don't remember who it was that announced the pick, but that was a really, 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 it was really iconic because with the draft being held in Green Bay, for the first time since 2002, they draft a wide receiver in the first round with Matthew Golden out of Texas. Now, this is probably the best pick in this year's draft. And I really, really like this is the fastest guy in the draft, by the way, too, y'all. So I really, really like this pick for Jordan Love. That wide receiver room is one of the youngest wide receiver rooms in the NFL. So just seeing what the Green Bay Packers did, getting Matthew Golden, he's gonna make an immediate impact, and he's really gonna help, Jordan Love in that wide receiver room for sure. So now at 24, the Vikings, I didn't really expect them to go O-line, but they got Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. I know it was needed for them possibly, but again, maybe with such a weak class, they probably went with the best available guy here in terms of their offensive line. I thought they were going to go safety here, but I think it's a solid pick for them over there to help protect J.J. McCarthy when he comes back for the Minnesota Vikings. Now we have a trade alert, y'all. The trade alert. The Giants, they traded back into the first round with the Texans. This is the moment of truth, right? Okay, I ain't gonna lie though, y'all. I was joking around. I was at work. I was like, okay, before the pick was even, in, I was like, Jackson Dart, you are a New York Giant. I was just joking. I promise you, I didn't think they actually would go this route. But like I said, there was no way they can pass on Shedeur here, right? But no, they go with Jackson Dart instead, y'all. he, like I said, I mentioned in last week's episode that he is my boomer bust player, and I see a lot of upside with him. But man, I think they may regret this. Maybe, like I said, but Jackson Dart has some really good mentors in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Like having those two, like that quarterback room. That's probably one of the healthiest quarterback rooms I ever seen. Maybe with Russ, I don't know. Like he's had his issues, but I think that's probably one of the healthiest quarterback rooms I've seen. And I think Jackson Dart has some really good mentors for him. He got the gunslinger and Jameis Winston, and then he got the very precise. What is it? The damn in Russell Wilson. You know what I'm saying? So the Giants they got their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart again. Not what I was expecting. You know what I'm saying? But again, so there's had to be some chances, right? Still for Shedeur to get in this first round. Going on to the Ravens, they go safety. They go safety here for the Ravens, and I like Malachi Starks a lot, y'all. He was probably one of my favorite safeties here, and that's gonna be a great Tatum of him and Kyle Hamilton will be a great duo right there over there in Baltimore. And then so now we're on to the Lions, y'all. They always tend to throw a curveball at y'all when it comes to drafting. Like I don't know, I don't know. I like what their idea here with so they get Tyleik Williams. Now his tackle production is through the roof for sure, and has pretty impressive quickness here. I think this is a pretty solid pick for them. They could have probably gone something else. I don't know. I feel like this might have been a little bit of a reach here for them. They probably could address some other issues as well, and I know they need much needed depth in terms of that defense because they were, like I said, they were one of the most injured teams in the NFL last year in terms on the defensive side. So I think this was a solid pick for them for sure. Like I said, they could have probably gone a different route. And then, as I predicted, I went with the Commanders going with the offensive lineman, but they did go with Gray Zabel getting picked up early. They went with Josh Connerly instead. Like I said, who has great upside and great body control, who can move easily in space. And like I said, his upside really showed in his game against Abdul Carter when Oregon played Penn State, and he held his own. He held his own weight against Abdul Carter for Oregon. So I really like that pick for the Commanders, helping out Jaden Daniels, making sure he stays upright. Now, the Bills were in an interesting spot here. I think all the receivers that were mostly graded as a round one pick were already selected and then in their eyes. And I didn't see them wanting to reach for probably Luther Burton III, but cornerback was another need of theirs. And I think Will Johnson would make sense here. Like I said, I'm high on Will Johnson, but they go with one of my favorite ball hawking cornerbacks in Maxwell Harrison for sure. Like I said, who had 6 pick sixes last year and plays well in man and zone. So this is like a really, really solid pick for the Buffalo Bills. He's going to make an immediate impact. He's a day one starter for sure for them. He's definitely going to learn behind a great defensive mind and Sean McDermott. So good job to the Bills. Now, y'all, the rich get richer again. I don't know how he does it. So there was a trade here with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. They went up one spot. They got, which was regarded as the best middle linebacker in this class, who has excelling sideline to sideline speed and agility, and Jahad Campbell. Wow. Like I don't know. Like I don't know how they keep getting away. They keep getting away with this shit, y'all. Their mindset in drafts is crazy. I don't know how these players fall into their laps. But him with Zach Bond will be a treat after flipping places with the Chiefs. So him, he has a good mentor in Zach Bond, and then just overall that defense is already just stacked already. So, and then to round out this round one, the Chiefs, as I predicted as well, they go with the offensive lineman to protect Patrick Mahomes, and keep him off the ground as well. They get San Diego native, by the way, y'all, and he was a former Scotty. Go Helix. Once a Scotty, always a Scotty. Josh Simmons, y'all. I thought he'd get picked by the Texans before they traded their pick to the New York Giants. But wow, this is actually a really good signing for them. He has so much upside for the San Diego native, and like I said, he's really gonna help out Patrick Mahomes and make sure he doesn't be hitting the ground as much as he did last season. So. And with that, y'all, that concludes the first round of this NFL draft. Now, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. My biggest surprises, I think I mentioned Jalen Walker, landing at 15 to the Atlanta Falcons, and then also them just trading back and getting another defensive lineman. That was probably one of my biggest surprises. Jackson Dart being the second quarterback taken off the board for the New York Giants. And I think, honestly, the GM's son, he kind of spoiled it a little bit. I think the night before, he was posting highlights of Jackson Dart. And I think, what was it? His account was public, and then he went private after that, and because it went all over the mass media. Everyone seen what he was doing. So, but that was probably my biggest surprise, too. And then, obviously, just Shedeur falling out of this first round, y'all, was my biggest surprise as well. My favorite picks, my least favorite picks. So my least favorite pick, again, I think that Derek Harmon pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers probably wasn't my favorite pick, but I see the vision there, I guess, because with Cam Hayward probably going to retire, they probably need to go younger and get ready for that possibility there. But my favorite pick so far, for sure, y'all, it had to be what was it? I think the Colts getting Tyler Warren was probably my favorite pick for sure. And then also my Denver Broncos getting Jahdae Barron for sure. The most versatile guy in this draft. But there's still some big names on the board, y'all, heading into day 2. So I had 4 players that I had in my mock draft going to round 1 that are still available. We got, like I said, we got Shedeur Sanders. We got the leader in sacks last season in Mike Green, one of the top cornerbacks, and Will Johnson, who probably, again, with his injury. You got Nick Imenawari as well, the safety, the versatile safety as well himself. Big, strong safety who can do a lot on the field as well. Those are like some of the guys as well. But no, can you pull up? Oh, actually, I have it right here for the draft order for day 2. So day 2 is today, round 2 and 3. It starts at 4 p.m., y'all. I kind of want to just look and see. So for Shedeur, at least, he has a couple opportunities here to get picked. He can get picked as early as 33 by the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have the 33 and 36 pick today. They can use one of those 2 picks and possibly get Shedeur Sanders, or we could see possibly the Raiders. We could possibly see the Raiders getting him as well, or even the Saints have the 40th pick. They probably will have to move up to get Shedeur, but like I said, we can only see what happens, because we can't predict nothing, because there's the unknown is insane when it comes to these NFL draft. There could be even a surprise team that swoops up and gets Shedeur for sure. But make sure you guys tune into the round 2 of the NFL draft. And this concludes this episode of This Week in Sports, y'all. Stay tuned for Monday as well. I'll be analyzing the last rounds 2 to 4 on Monday as well. So you guys have a good one.